In this video, Dr. Jordan Peterson explains the best way to confront your fears.
What should I do if every time I voluntarily confront my problems, I get too overwhelmed with stress to make progress solving them? Oh, that's a good one, man. Okay, so the first thing is take your problems. Like, let's take the driving example. I'm too afraid to drive. Okay, then you think, well, what exactly does driving consist of? Well, the first thing is that you have to establish some kind of relationship with a car. So you might think, well, you're not too afraid to go online and do a little investigation into what cars are like what's a good car and how do they work, and familiarize yourself with the car, and then that makes you a little less afraid. And then you think, well, maybe I'll just go sit out in a car and put my hands on the steering wheel and just kind of accustom myself to the idea of being in the car and accustom myself in my imagination to drive around in the car. Maybe I'll try some driving simulators online. And then the next thing is, well, maybe I can find someone I can trust to train me. And what we'll do is, as I mentioned earlier, is we'll go out to an empty parking lot on a Sunday morning and I'll drive 15 feet and then stop, and that'll be good enough for the day. So what you want to do if you're overwhelmed with your problems is you want to break the problems down, and you do this by thinking strategically. You want to break the problems down into units that are small enough so that you can confront them and master them with a high degree of probability. And you can decompose almost every stressful problem into, so imagine that you have a stack of paper on your desk and there's a bunch of monsters inside it that you don't want to face, like homework you haven't done, or taxes that you haven't finished, or trouble you're having with a bureaucratic enterprise that you'd rather avoid. It's like, one of the things you can do is just, the first day you might think, okay, Jesus, I want to avoid that. All right, well, would I be willing to take the papers downstairs and put them on the table and spend no more than 10 minutes just looking at them and organizing them? And you might then you ask yourself, well, would I do that? And if the answer is yes, you think, okay, that'll be good enough for today. And then the thing is, you've knocked on the dragon's door, and you've eliminated the first part of the avoidance. And so then you're on your way. And the next day you might think, well, could I deal with the first page of that problem? And you think, well, I could at least look at it. And the trick is, and this is what behavioral psychologists do all the time, is identify the fear, break it down into its subcomponents, lay out a schedule for confronting the subcomponents, and don't burden yourself more than you can tolerate. And man, you can make unbelievable progress that way. But you have to be willing to give yourself credit for small achievements. And that's fine, because consistent small achievements add up incrementally across time into absolutely remarkable progress, because it starts to you start to get like compound interest on it. So yeah, so that's what you should do. And look, if that doesn't work and you're so overwhelmed that you're just absolutely in stasis, then one of the things that you should consider is that maybe you have an anxiety disorder, maybe you're depressed, like maybe things have just really collapsed in on you and you have terrible problems, like maybe you're sick and you have an ill relative and you're in real financial trouble and you're unemployed. It's like, that's just too much. And so at that point, maybe you need to go talk to someone, and maybe you need to consider something like temporary anti-anxiety medication or antidepressant medication, and to sit down and strategize with someone about how you're going to put your life back on track. And I would say also, if you're in a situation like that and you can't find a therapist, then try the self-authoring program, because that's what we designed it for. So, okay.